Hello and welcome to our next webinar. The webinar is all about the post-processing. My name is Robin.
And my name is Robert.
And we will guide you today through this webinar. Let's have a quick look at the agenda for today. At first we're going to go through some general information and the handling of the parts. Then we have a closer look on the washing and curing units, so what are the methods in the field right now. And in the end we're going to have a short look at the validation process. So, I hope everything is today fine with the connection again, and I will just give it over to Robert to continue.
All right, thank you very much, Robin. Just to add one thing, as always, if you have any kind of question, please let us know in the chat. We can't hear you, so please write the questions you have in the chat. So we will answer them after each corresponding section. As always, if there's a bigger question coming up or a bigger discussion coming up, we would like to move this to the end of the webinar, just to have a nice flow of this presentation. All right, then again, let's start with the general information. So why do we have to perform post-processing at all? Why do we have certain parameters? So let's take a closer look into that. Well, first of all, why post-processing? We have actually two steps here. One is cleaning and the other one is the post-curing. As you can see here, the reason why we have to do this is that after printing there is some layer of liquid on top of your part surface. So this is something we have to get rid of completely by using any type of cleaning fluid. Then we have to make sure that this part will get the final surface and fit quality, what we want to achieve. And this is another reason for the cleaning. Post-curing, pretty much we try to achieve the same goals here. We want to get the final size of the part. We also want to get the final strength of the printed part. And last but not least, the biocompatibility must be given. So therefore we need the post-curing as well. So this was pretty quick. I can see that there's no question. Just to sum it up, cleaning and post-curing are the two steps, and why do we need them? We want to get the final characteristics of our printed parts. All right. So the next one would be, we have different indications. So these materials, as you all know, have unique characteristics. So if you would compare a gingiva resin with a model resin, for example, you can see a big difference there. One is soft, the other one is pretty hard and solid. So you can imagine that each of these materials have to get their own unique parameters in order to get a successful print result. And the parameters, what you have to get for this resin is one, the material or the parameter for the printing process. Then we need parameters for the cleaning process, and third, we need to have parameters for the post-curing process. All of these parameters are tested and validated by the rapidshape lab team together with the Straumann lab team, and the final work is then pushed into a new engine which you will receive in a NetFab update. All right. I can see that there's still no questions, so I think we can move on with the handling.
Yeah. So, you got two topics, or what shall I do?
That's all right. You see, I totally forgot the order of our webinar, sorry for that.
No problem.
So let me take over the handling of the parts as well, as planned. So, a couple of things we have to take care of after finishing the print job. So we always have to wear gloves. That is super, super important. Anytime you could get in touch with the resin, you are a little bit in danger. So make sure that you always wear gloves. Some customer asks us, hey, but do I really need gloves? I'm printing only biocompatible material. So yes, you still need gloves for that, because the biocompatible state is only reached when you finish the full post-process. So in a liquid state, it is still non-biocompatible, therefore we have to wear gloves all the time. We could get in touch with the resin. Then safety goggles is always important to work with. So on the one hand we are working with UV light, on the other hand we are working with this resin, so if there's any kind of drop getting in touch with your eyes, that would be not so good, so could be dangerous here. Therefore we have the data sheets on every material bottle, but yeah, so wearing gloves and wearing safety goggles is absolutely necessary here. Well, then we have to prepare our workspace before we take out the platform of the printer. That would be preparing enough space, putting the cleaning towels on the table, preparing your spatula in order to remove the parts of the platform, and all these stuff you need. So, what are the steps we have to perform when it comes to removing the top of the build platform? So first of all, we just remove the platform carefully out of the printer. We try to avoid any kind of dripping. Then we want to separate the parts from the platform with a scalpel and a hammer. For example, you could print a very rigid model material, and it could be pretty difficult to just use a scalpel or spatula to remove that. So give the scalpel or spatula a gentle touch with a hammer, and this way the models will come up really nice from the platform. Just a little tool to help in this process. Well, then we have, instead of the regular platform, you also have the surgical guide platform. Remember that there the parts will stay on the platform during the whole post-process, just to make sure that the surgical guides are not having any kind of warpage effect, so that you get better results in accuracy and fitting. Alright, so I think we can move on with the washing and curing units.
Maybe as a short note, we also got a video on the Knowledge Center about,
Yes.
for example, the post-processing, so you can directly also have a look at this video.
Exactly.
So, in regards of the washing units, there is different methods in the field, which I was already mentioning. So there's the ultrasonic, there's the flow and swirl, that's just how I called it, I don't know what's the official one for this, and there's the centrifuge. So ultrasonic is the most used one, and flow and swirl, they both use some kind of cleaning liquid. And then there's the centrifuge. Centrifuge is without any cleaning liquid, but it's also not used that much. So most common, ultrasonic or the flow and swirl. As usual, for each process there is recommendations for each material itself. Some are allowed to be centrifuged, some not, so you can all get this from the material developer or manufacturer. So let's have just a closer look at the ultrasonic. So there's a wide variety because it's used for a lot of things already available, and the big issue is you got direct contact with the IPA. So also use gloves, of course. And the other thing is with the open top and the ultrasonic, you will have got IPA vapor in the air, which is also not that good, especially if there's also resin dissolved in the vapor. And additionally, there's also the need to dry the parts after you cleaned it in your ultrasonic bath. If you now compare it to the flow and swirl, of course I will focus now on the RS wash or P wash. So the great benefit is now, first of all, we got an automatic process. So there's no, I have to select this parameter, I have to switch it to this parameter because I use now another material. It's everything automatic. And we got the intelligent connectivity, which makes things even easier. You don't have to select material, you just select the same job you got on the printer, you will get it on the cure and the wash. Additionally, like Robert mentioned, these are all validated parameters on there already. So nothing to worry about on your side. We validated with Strawman and the material manufacturers, put it on the machines, you just select it, execute it, nothing you have to worry about. Additionally, we got the closed cleaning area. So no IPA is directly going somewhere in the air, so no IPA vapor directly. Additionally, we put it in there while the cleaning area is dry. No isopropanol inside. So great benefit of using this method. In order to also get rid of more IPA vapor, we got the activated carbon filters inside because we are drying the part after the cleaning. And additionally, we will filter the air, which is used for the cleaning, with activated carbon filters. So even less IPA vapor in the air because we filter it. And as I mentioned, yes, of course, no contact with IPA before and after the process. I put it in while it's, of course, with gloves, while it's in with the resin, close the lid, open it again after the process, and it's dry and clean. So no direct contact with IPA. Curing units, it's kind of the same. There are some different methods outside. There's the UV bulbs, there's the flash box. most likely used, I think, at the moment, and the LED box, also very well known already in the field. So the only thing which is mainly different is, of course, the light source, and if you're using the curing environment as inert gas or vacuum. And again, also here, process recommendation for each material you can find in the data sheet.
That's right.
I will just have a closer look in here for the LED box, in this case the RS Cure or P-Cure, because this is also for us or what we think is the easiest solution also for the customer. If you now use the RS Cure, you got the same benefits as the RS Wash. You got the intelligent connectivity and the automatic process, so no process parameters you have to worry about. And you got a vacuum chamber, so no gas, no additional bottle needed in the office somewhere. So really quite handy solution, really small, totally fine. I think that's enough information for the curing and washing units, and we will now have a look at the validation process, because we're just talking about all the validation parameters which we've checked and which material manufacturers check. So let's have a look into what's really going on.
Maybe just to have one addition to what you just said, is that the RS Wash and the RS Cure will be another topic. So this will be a separate webinar.
That's right, yeah.
Which we will tackle in the future. So in one of the next webinars we will have a closer look to the RS Wash and RS Cure, that you know anything about it, how to install it, how to use it, how to maintain it. So these will be topics in a separate webinar, most likely next week.
So I think this is also perfect now for the question from Andre,
right, yes.
Because he's asking, how often do I have to replace the IPA using the ultrasonic washing method? Ultrasonic is used by another, or it's not the RS Wash which is using ultrasonic, but we're gonna have a look at the RS Wash and the recommendations next week, or one of the following webinars. Let's see if it's gonna be next week. And then we can really clarify how often do I change a liquid here. And regarding other ultrasonic techniques, I'm not sure if we got some recommendations of the provider of these machines, but let's see what we can get.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, as you all know, the ultrasonic method was something which was used before we had these dedicated boxes for that, or these components who are taking care of it. And basically at that time we just said, okay, you just use fresh isopropanol for best cleaning results. But as we all know, in the daily work in a dental lab, they just use it maybe 2, 3, 4 times, 5 times even, and then when they see that it's getting too dirty, so it's polluted with the liquid resin, that the cleaning process is not as good as before, then they will replace it with fresh one. But then again, we should always focus on the material manufacturer's recommendations for this specific resin, and at the end this is what we have to take care of. And what Robin said is really good, that we will talk about that topic a little bit more in detail when we will take a closer look to the RS Wash and RS Cure, and I'm quite sure that most of the questions will be answered in this webinar.
Yes.
So I can see another question regarding the P-Wash from Gabriele. How often do customers need to change the IPA bottles? In P-Wash there's currently no RFID tag in the bottles. Very good question here. This is also something we would like to move to this webinar, where we will cover all these questions regarding wash and cure. I'm sure you guys have a lot of them because you already use these machines, and there are a couple of questions coming up. Yes, we will cover these questions
in the one webinar.
The next webinars, yes. All right. Antonio asked about the connectivity between Wash and Cure and the printers. Yes. So we can say yes, there is some software update necessary in order to use this intelligent connectivity, but yes, it's working at the moment, right? Also P10, yes,
should be, yes.
That should also work fine. So this is just a general LabVIEW update what we have for our printers, that they can get connected with Wash and Cure. So yes, this is also true. P10 is also can also be connected with Wash and Cure.
Yeah.
All right. Great. So I can think we can move on. No, there's one more question. It is necessary to have an IPA cleaning. It is necessary to have IPA cleaning for each different printing material. Well, here we can say it depends.
You say potato. Okay, yeah.
I think I know what you mean, Andre. So yeah, the topic is, I guess, that do we have to use different containers if we have biocompatible material and non-biocompatible material? And this is also something. Thank you. This is also something we would like to add for the webinar with Wash and Cure, because yes, this is a good question in regards of the validated process. How can we ensure that this validated process is working when I switch materials in Wash and Cure? So let's talk about this in the future webinar. I know I say this a lot, that yeah, we will move this to a future webinar, but that's exactly what we want to do. So we want to tackle all of your questions, but these are fitting better into this webinar where we talk about Wash and Cure. Okay. Now I have talked a lot about validation process, and as you can see, this is our next topic in this webinar. So let's move on with this. How can we ensure that our resin, what is available in your NetFab library, is printed in a way that it is precise, that it's accurate, that the fitting is nice, that it is biocompatible, it has a certain strength and all these characteristics you want to have with your resin. So this is tested by the rapidshape lab team together with the Strawman team. We are also cross-checking this with the material manufacturer, of course, just to make sure that the customer have a plug-and-play solution. So he's buying the resin from manufacturer A, he's adding this into the validated process. How this is done, I will talk about this on the next slide. And then he's sure that he's getting a perfect print result. So how is this incorporated into our workflow? So there are a couple of things we have to add to this game. This is, on the one hand, we have the RFID tag, which is on the bottle. So this way we can save the information which is stored on that bottle to the reservoir you use for this job. And the information on this RFID tag is, we actually have two types. So the first one is which material it is. So just the tag, so which class it is, which material class. This is saved on the reservoir, as well as the expiration date of this bottle. So this is important just in case you store these materials for quite some time. But basically, if you use them within a year, 1.5 years, depends, you do not get problems. But just in case, the machine is also checking the expiration date for you. In addition to that, as mentioned in previous webinars, we have the material parameter selection in NetFab. This is the most crucial element of the validated workflow. Based on this material parameter selection, we can make sure that not only the printing but also the washing and curing is done in a proper way to ensure accuracy and biocompatibility. So then again, we will talk about this in one of the next webinars where we talk about the wash and cure, but basically this is what it's all about. The RFID tag with the information stored on the reservoir, the parameter in NetFab we have chosen, and the post-processing best done by Wash and Cure.
Yes, of course.
Company. All right, I see that there's one question coming up from Andre, only for clarification for all participants. Previous question was, okay, you're just repeating the question. Is it necessary to have an IPA cleaning container for each different printing material? That is a great question. We just take this as input for our webinar, so we will definitely add this topic to our future webinar where it's all about wash and cure. All right. I hope this has answered the question so far. I mean, not really, we are moving this, but we are aware of this question and we will talk about this in the next webinar. All right. Okay, is there any further question regarding the validation process, how this is incorporated and how it works? I think it should be fine.
I think so too, yes.
That is perfect, Andre. We really appreciate your feedback on this, and that's great. We need to ask questions what comes up in the field, and we really need to be on the same side here. That's great. Okay, I think we can proceed here with Q&A. So yes, this was really fast, pretty much the same
short
time
webinar
as this
today.
morning. Pretty short webinar, yes. You can be sure that the next ones will be a little bit longer because we have other topics, bigger topics coming up, more to discuss. But then again, we still have some time left for questions. So please fire up. Let us know all the questions you have in mind about this topic.
Okay,
cool.
Antonio.
Yes, we got this totally. So
yeah, we have to have a look. We're now having different webinars in the pipeline we want to do. So let's see. We don't know exactly the timeline when which webinar will take place. We're trying to send you the invitations as soon as possible, also with a topic which is then the webinar's topic itself.
A good thing what Andre added here as a question: what happens if a customer is using a different curing process than the one you selected in NetFab? Well, you can imagine using a different curing chamber, different curing component to perform the post-process will change the way the part behaves during the curing phase. That means there's a different kind of shrinkage involved.
Yeah.
The part will maybe not be biocompatible because maybe the different curing box is not using vacuum or inert gas, so you will have to deal with some kind of inhibition layer in between. So only with the correct parameters you get the best results in accuracy and biocompatibility. With that in mind, you can imagine that the lab team from rapidshape and Straumann are having the parameters of wash and cure in mind when they prepare the parameters in NetFab. So that also means that if your customer is printing a measurement part, like a test cube for example, with his material, and he's not measuring it after the full post-process, so he's measuring the part directly after printing, he will be quite disappointed because the part will not fit in XY. So the final shrinkage process to ensure that the part is fitting well is done in the post-curing. And if you use a different curing method, doesn't matter which variable you change, the part will not have the correct characteristics anymore. Quite a difficult word.
Yeah. Also in regards, for example, when you measure directly after the post-processing, the part is still hot.
Exactly.
For example. This is also what some customers, just to mention it here, some customers experience. They were measuring it and saying the part is not fitting correctly, it's the wrong size. Yeah. But it's just because it was still hot after the process, and that's not the normal temperature the part has got. So also let it cool down before you do anything with measuring or testing.
And about the question from Sean in regards to the validation status in each different market, well, that's a difficult topic, as you can imagine. There are different approvals you need. For US, you need FDA approval. Well, we can only refer to the material manufacturer at this point because they have all the data sheet, all the
information. For example, if FDA cleared for America.
Right.
Yeah. The only thing you can have a look what materials are available in NetFab, of course, and then you have to see which one you want to use, and unfortunately go the bit longer way through the material manufacturer, I think.
Yes. So rapidshape is not the company who's taking care of the process in the individual markets. This is done by the material manufacturer. What we do is we have just, let's say, we transformed from a typical or traditional printer manufacturer to a kind of solution provider in terms of that the customer can buy now a printer and all the additional components to have a smooth process. And process we mean is not only printing, it's also washing and curing. And there we have now a final solution for that, which is working really fine, but the validation for the individual markets is still done by the material manufacturer.
Yeah.
Okay, Tony is writing a question. Let's wait for that.
Yeah, we still got time, so...
Yeah, no worries.
We're still there for you.
Still plenty of time left. And we are happy if we get more questions like this, because then we can This allows us to change also the documents we have to
Yes.
optimize them. That is great. When curing on the surgical guide platform, is there any chance of stress because the metal isn't shrinking? Good question, Tony. Then again, the curing parameters, or let's say the network parameters already contains the information that we are using a surgical guide platform. With that in mind, you get the perfect result if you use the surgical guide platforms here. So this is already considered when designing the parameters.
Yeah, to be more clear, we also use the surgical guide platform to reduce the stress which is afterwards, so after curing in the part itself. So we really, you can somehow say we keep the stress in the surgical guide kind of with this metal sheet, so that during the curing, post-curing process, we release the stress inside of the model itself or in the surgical guide, but without changing its position. Without the surgical guide platform, it can happen that the surgical guide, because of its internal stress, will move during the curing and have some warpage, for example.
Yes. I hope this answered your question. Nice.
Good.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
some
just
more
waiting
questions
for
maybe
them.
coming in. I can see.
Yeah, please keep writing. That's great.
No question. But thank you too, Antonio,
Yeah, thank you too
for joining.
Joining and giving us so much input. So I think we can move ahead. As always, if there's something, if there's a question popping up in your mind after the webinar, please feel free to contact us on service@rapidshape.de.
Yeah.
We are very thankful for
Any
receiving
input.
these questions and this input. And yes, Antonio, we are also looking forward for the Wash and Cure webinar, because this will be a little bit different from the ones we did before. So stay tuned.
Let's see.
Stay tuned for the future webinars. There will be some more features included. So yeah, we're also pretty psyched about that.
Yes, let's see how this is going to work.
All right.
Additionally, we will do some supporting webinar, a little bit more details on manual adding. So this is going to be also one of them which is following, just to keep you interested and really wanting to join this webinar multiple times again.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
So if there's anything left, let us know. Until then, we say thank you very much for joining our webinar today.
Yes, so as usual, stay safe and stay three-dimensional.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.